Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and I am very proud and honored to have back Noel Benoist, NSA Whistleblower, Man in Black, co-author of the 200-Year Plan with the late FBI whistleblower Ted Gunderson. Today, we're going to talk about Pandora's box. I got a little brief synopsis of what Pandora's box is or was or could be, so I really don't know either. However, we're going to jump right into all of that. If you saw from the banner that I put up, let me go ahead and kick it back up over here. Let me go. I guess I got to grab it. Come on. The book. Oh, yeah, let me take that off. 200-Year Plan. This is the 2025 edition. It's been updated to 2025. This is the proof copy where I have to go back and correct all the proof errors. So 200-Year Plan, the Deep State Shadow Government and Great Deceit. Ted Gunderson, FBI whistleblower, and Noel Benoist, or Benoit, NSA whistleblower. And there you go. So we're going to be doing a book signing in Plano, Texas at the Sky Pony Gallery at Willow Bend Mall. You can get more information at thefearlessfloydshow.com, skyponygallery.com. I have thumbnails up. Obviously, they'll be posted. So I'm actually going to speak as well. I'll be on the 10th from 1 to 5. Noel will be on the 9th. That's Saturday from 3 to 7. There's a fully stocked bar there in the gallery. It is an awesome place. I will remind me, and I'll pull up their website and we'll run through it. So let's get in with Noel, and we're going to talk about Pandora's box. So, how you doing?
There you go. I'm too stubborn to quit, so every day I wake up breathing, I'm doing okay.
Right. Fighting the fight. The hustle
There you go.
Real.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
And
well,
Pandora's box is kind of an old phrase from the old days.
From the old, okay. Well, old days for some people are the 1990s and the 1980s. So, what are the old days? We're talking about 50s,
Pandora's
60s?
box probably goes back to the 40s.
The 40s. Okay.
If you had a box, that caught everything. That was Pandora's box. Pandora's box caught everything.
Okay. Well, there we go.
You never know what you could find in Pandora's box.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, for just a little.
We talked about before.
Right, for a little, just brief. Tell everybody who you are. Your little quick bio. I'm Noel Benoist. Blah 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 blah. And don't go crazy with it.
There you go. All right.
I'm gonna give you the floor.
Yep. Yeah.
Let me one second.
Basically, I mean, my whole life was guided and orchestrated by God. God had it laid out, and I've just been kind of following the plan. The door opens, I go through it, and just try to let God guide me. And it has been, I think, I'm positive. I mean, born in the womb of a woman who was guaranteed death if she got pregnant again. We both made it. And there's just all kinds of places through my life where you can see miracles from the Lord above, and putting me where I ended up as seat 13. Basically, at that point in time, then I became internal affairs between MJ12, the 12 people who started or who were the current builders of the deep state. It was actually started way back in one of the Bilderbergs and all of that, when different powerful people came together and saw the syndicate power of the mob and said they needed to syndicate, and they started building a government within the government. And in 47, they were empowered by the 1947 National Security Act. They gave them autonomy and more power than any group should ever have. And they started abusing it. And I made seat 13, and the number one guy wanted me for seat 2. But at that point, no secret could be kept from me, and there was no room or file or anything limited to me. My name was automatic need to know, automatic sufficient rank, automatic clearance, and I could get anything. And at the time I was over in Germany, and that's when I found out that actually we had our most guarded secrets over in Germany. Interesting because of the Bilderbergs and all that. But they took the base that we could never find and bomb that Hitler had and turned it into our base. And we had a room in there, and I kept walking by that room as I was serving there for a while, and I was there for internal affairs for a lot of matters. And then after I got a few things done, it kind of became known that I was more than met the eye, so to speak. And I was told to be at a certain meeting up on the second floor. So I walked in, and that's where I got together with the main people that were in that area. And they ran my ID and found out I was the guy that they sent to be in charge of the meeting. Solved a big problem there. And so number one decided I was a good guy for number two. And at that point, then I knew I had carte blanche access. And I had been walking by this one room, seeing guys go in and out and everything, and taking boxes of material in. And so I asked this one guy, I said, "What's that room?" And he said, "Well, that's the room where we keep all of our most guarded secrets, and it's also the destruction room." I said, "Oh, yeah?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "You're cleared high enough to go in." And I said, "Let me see it." So he poked the key code, and then he wrote the key code down for me. Said, "You can go in anytime you want." And I went in, and there was this great big, like it looked like almost like a steel metal table. And it was, I'd say that thing was about 6 or 8 feet by 6 to 8 feet. And then there was this like press that would come down on the steel table. And it was up. So you could stack about 8-foot square boxes in there. And the guy told me, he said, if the enemy comes, like the Czechoslovakian crisis, if they came across the border, every secret in that place could be nothing but powder, because you stack them on that press deal comes down and actually just chews them up into almost like a powder and blows them into the furnace. So the enemy wouldn't even have ashes with anything legible on it that they could make anything out of. And I said, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Records in here go all the way back to," like he said, he thinks 1911 is in there. And so right away, that piqued my interest. And so I said, okay. So then what I started doing is every time I had a break, or if I was technically off duty, I would go into that room and I started reading files. I went back, and there were some 1911 files in there. And actually, the people that were involved in Deep State were involved in World War I. They wanted a war for economy's sake. And they wanted World War II for economy's sake, they said, and population control. They claimed it was good all the way around. And they want these occasional skirmishes. Some of these smaller skirmishes are actually, for as far as they're concerned, that's a field where they can test the new equipment and make sure it's good if we ever end up in a world war. So they stir that stuff up for testing grounds. And they don't care about the human lives. They care about the money, the equipment, and what they call the economy and population control. And so I got in there and I started reading, and that's where I found, matter of fact, I found Roosevelt in World War II had Operation Magician, coined by them. And he made a statement that America will never enter World War II unless they are angered enough to do so. And you remember the old famous quote, Roosevelt said, "Oh, we will not enter the war." Well, Hawaii was a setup, and 5,000 or more people died in order to make America angry enough to enter the war. that was
That
their price paid.
that would be December 7th
Yeah.
in Pearl Harbor for people who didn't
Yeah.
put two and two
December
together.
7th. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that got me, because I'm saying, how can you just pick 5,000 people to die, and they might have even had more die. They weren't sure how many people would go, and that's why you see these reports on World War II and December 7. Oh, that's the California squadron coming back. The trouble was, the California squadron would have been coming from the east, and the squadron that was coming in was coming from the west, coming from Japan, and they knew it. And so that got my goat a bit, and I was starting to say, okay, I'm definitely digging deeper. I was at that point. I probably there were times I went 72 hours straight through, just because I would do my job, do my duties, and then I would go into Pandora's box and read more. And I worked my way up to Kennedy, and Kennedy knew about MJ12 and MAGCOM, etc. And Kennedy wanted to basically neutralize the 1947 National Security Act. He wanted to propose a world, basically an Earth World Corporation of Space Exploration. And basically America would be first, and then Russia, China, etc. But every nation in the world would participate, and the economy would be a space exploration economy, and we would go back to valuable metals for money, a platinum coin, molybdenum, gold, silver, etc. And then it could also be backed up by jewels like diamonds and all that. And that way, all of that stuff has increased in value. Paper money devalues. Diamonds cost more. They've evaluated. They've, gone up in price, and gold and everything is up. So if we'd have done what he wanted, we'd be well off. Another thing Kennedy actually wanted, and this is where I found the information about what Trump talked about, the trillions of dollars. There's an oil field in San Diego. It's had a naval oil cap on it, and that cap has been there since World War II, and they didn't even uncap it for Vietnam. And it's a naval oil cap reserved for time of war, World War, etc. That field has enough oil to supply America at our current use and expansion for 3,000 years. And it even includes if we had 3 more world wars. And there would still be some left over. And actually, that oil should have been flowing. And just like they do in Arabia, they give the citizens a percentage of their oil money. So Arabian citizens don't even have to work. They're all rich. And quite frankly, from World War II on, that thing should have been flowing, and every American should have been rich. And so that was some more that kind of got to me. But then I read about Kennedy, and he was going to neutralize them and do the space exploration deal. And then I read another operation, and instead of like Operation Magic, like Roosevelt, I think if I remember right, they called it like Majestic. And so, and actually to see those files, you had to have Majestic clearance to see those.
Right.
And so I started reading those, and I read Lucian Sardis was given Secret Service credentials. He's the one that the cop interviewed behind the fence. And I read how they set that all up, orchestrated it and everything. They set up Oswald. He wanted to be a CIA agent, CIA and that. And so they told him that they were going to test presidential security, and he had to do a perfect job if he wanted to be an agent. So they told him that his rifle would have a blank in it but he had to aim for Kennedy's shoulder where there would be a mic taped inside, and the blast had to hit that mic strong enough that they would know it's a bullseye. They'd be able to tell if it was a bullseye, just wounded, or what. And if he wanted to be a sniper for CIA and that, he had to hit that bullseye, because they knew Kennedy gets hit in the shoulder that way, he would slump over. And Lucien Sardis had the 9mm sniper rifle. 9mm bullet has an air bubble in it, so when it hits anything hard, it explodes. And so with him slumped over, Lucien Sardis had a soft flesh entry point. Then it hits his forehead, it explodes forward, and they knew then ballistics people would be looking in front of Kennedy, and they would be looking where the sound came from at the suppository, but all the attention was drawn away from the fence, other than a few people who were near the fence and on the other side of the fence, and they got photos of the puff of smoke floating away from the fence. And those people and their film footage died within 2 years under mysterious circumstances. And so at that point, I knew who was involved in the Kennedy assassination. So I just kept digging deeper, as though I might go along with them, and I might go ahead and sign up and be seat 2. And I had several talks with them about changing their ways and what they're doing and how wrong it all is. And when I knew that they wasn't going anywhere, and they knew I was mad, so I put in for 30 days leave. Well, they thought I was going on leave and I'd cool down and I'd come back around and I'd be their guy, because I already signed a contract giving me lifetime authority and basically being in for life. But one thing they didn't count on, God was involved, because I was engaged to a German national and we were waiting for her to get a clearance. Because of that, none of them ordered me not to marry her yet. So I took leave. I was considering waiting, and I decided I'm not going to wait. So I moved the wedding up. Once I was married to a German national, I knew when I got back, they couldn't keep me, because in my position, my wife would have to be cleared, my children would have to be cleared. So she wasn't cleared yet. And if they got her a clearance, it was too late. So that right there, they couldn't really get me for a violation of anything, and they couldn't keep me. So that at that point, I was free from them and their hold over me, and I knew things that I wanted to know. And that's when I broke ties with them. And then I started accumulating evidence to give to Ted Gunderson. And actually, I had already been accumulating some. And when we took our honeymoon, I got some evidence to Ted. And later, I got him some more boxes of evidence and told him, sit on this, don't let them know you've got it, because they'll murder you to get it. He handled it the right way. He investigated and validated, and then they murdered him. So that's the group that we're up against. And they've got themselves self-perpetuating, so that there's a mobster out there who will then maybe go to work for CIA, and stuff like that. And a matter of fact, if Epstein is dead, and I'm not too sure he is, because Elvis was supposed to be dead, but I got into some of that stuff too. And I sent you some pictures, and I'm going to say on air right now, Elvis is alive. I don't know if he's that guy back east claiming to be Elvis. I'd have to meet him and talk to him. But Elvis and Sylvester Stallone had like this little stigma on their lip. Elvis had too. And it's caused by a tendon, I think, that's in the lip. So for an impersonator to do it, he'd have to have an operation and get the exact tendon and everything. But Elvis was actually in front of his gold records. His old flame one of his old flames. I'm the one who told him they should let him go ahead and have some life, because the people who were really after Elvis that wanted to kill him were gone. The sons were gone and old and out of it. And so I said, let him live some life. So they did. They let him get together with her. And when he saw her and she saw him, she said, "Oh, you look so good." And he called her by a name that was between the two of them. So she knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, Elvis never said that name to anybody else. And when he saw her, he gave her the same greeting that he always gave her whenever they got together. And she just gave him a big old hug. And I think they were going to let him get married or whatever, and then put him under the witness program as a married couple someplace else. But he was in Florida for a while, and then he was in Chicago. But like I say, there's a guy that claims he's Elvis, and he's supposedly giving concerts. But I would have to meet him and talk to him, because Elvis has some characteristics that no impersonator has ever been able to perfect.
Right, but we're not talking about Elvis. We're talking about Pandora's box.
Nope. But that was all in Pandora's box, and the same people behind all of it. And the thing is, see, they will use things like, they'll use something good to get away with 20 bad things. And now with this doggone AI that's out, I got taken a little bit. I saw an advertisement for like wills and trust and stuff like that, and stuff that I'm, looking to get into. And it was on one of these deals. I was on the web. And so I put in an interest, to talk to them, and they called, and then they showed me it was supposed to be, or supposedly, the adjutant for the nation for VFW endorsing them, and then the commander for the nation and everything. And I went through that with them, and unfortunately gave them information. I mean, they went right down the line like you would for a will and everything, but they get a lot of information that way. And then my son and one of my people that I depend on said, they're no good. And so I tried to close it down as much as I could, but a veteran that I helped actually got taken for about $7 or $8 grand, something like that. And so this doggone AI, I mean, I could get a call tomorrow that would look and sound exactly like Donald Trump, and it wouldn't be him.
Yep.
So I put him on notice. I said, I tell you what, anything sensitive or whatever, we're going to have to do it face to face, because as of this last week, I am not accepting any kind of electronic stuff coming to me, and it's supposed to be Elon Musk or whatever. And it's face to face. I told Musk the same thing. I said, if it's not face to face, I don't know yet. Don't want to talk to you. Let me know where we're going to meet. Yeah,
that's
and then
exactly how it has to be now. The people don't understand.
Yeah,
they have no idea what's coming. They have no idea.
No, and I'm actually trying to get Trump to do an executive order making AI illegal. It's either got to be illegal, or they've got to go ahead. AI is intelligent enough. It knows, like my IP address. It would know if a person was who they say they are. And all they got to do is arm it to shut them down, or to tell the other person, keep talking to this person. We're locating where they are. The law enforcement will be there shortly. If they make it a law enforcement tool,
coming.
Maybe.
All of that's coming.
Yeah. But then they'll abuse that too. And they'll abuse that.
Coming to take all your freedoms.
Against them, and we say something against them, and they come pick us up with the gulag.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're gonna make it all nice and pretty with a bow and pretty wrapping paper, and have this real, just authentic, genuine name like the Big Beautiful Bill or the Genius Act.
Yeah, label it and everything. And I mean, everybody's going to have to insist that legislators look at every detail,
They
you
don't
know,
have
and
time. You know, nobody has
and
time to
and
read
now
1,200
and
pages.
now Elon Musk just did an ad. If people are still in favor of him, catch this, being Donald Trump's #1 personal advisor. So he's been doing all of this to ace me out. He's had me knocked out with his AI, and he may have moved his way into being the #1. I was the #1 personal advisor. Now he's advertising more or less that he's the #1 personal advisor, and he's trying to manage Trump. I inform Trump and let Trump do what Trump, I tell him the truth and let him do what he figured needed to be done. Elon will lie to him to manage him and deceive him. So I don't trust you. As far as I'm concerned, Elon just might be the Antichrist. He's right. He's very fitting for it. Yep. And I was worried about that in the beginning, but then I wasn't too sure if China was going to be the bad guy. But an American being the bad guy fits better than China. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk.
I think the issue that a lot of people are waking up to is that the citizens and governments of countries all over the world aren't exactly in harmony or even like each other.
Yep.
And a lot of them would like, you can call it a regime change, governmental change, administrative change, political change,
Yeah.
even cultural change, for some
Yep.
places like Iran, if they went over Israel, same thing,
Yep.
Trust me, the Israel is if Netanyahu, and I hate to get off topic, if Netanyahu was decapitated, okay, and I mean that not literally, but taken out as like, okay, we took out the queen on a chessboard, that kind of thing, that it would probably create so much division and diversity within the government that it would probably fold and the people would come in, take over, and there wouldn't be any issues with Gaza and Palestine and all of that. Now, the radical groups like Hamas and all the other splinter groups, you're probably going to have problems with them.
The Islamic groups are giving trouble.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's the government that they're mad at. It's not the Israeli people. They just use the Israeli people because they're in the way.
Yeah, well, but the Islamics, they're mad at anybody who's not Islamic. They started about 625 to 650 AD.
Yeah,
and they became the radical group. They just killed hundreds of people over in Africa, and they're bound to determine you become Islamic or you cut your head off. But if the Islamics were gone, the Muslim are okay. They would be okay with, the Muslims actually used the Torah, for thousands of years, and the Muslims still use like the Torah and quote from it. So they'd be okay. The Muslims are okay with the Christians and the Israelis, the Hebrew. The only ones that are not okay with anyone are Islam.
Well, there's people
radical
that are religious over there.
Yep, they are. Yeah.
So I know a bunch of people from the Middle East because I used to sell, pre-owned luxury cars, and I dealt with people from everywhere in the Middle East, everywhere.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, I go to a body shop, upholstery shop, parts, paint, and everybody was from like some other Middle Eastern country, and I'm still friends with all these people. And they're not, they got to pray every day, nah. They're Americanized. They like America.
Same here. The guy that was in Lawrence of Arabia, that was the Sheik in Lawrence of Arabia, was also
Omar
the head of the Screen Actors Guild, and he's a friend of mine.
Omar Sharif?
Omar Sharif was like the star. He's the guy who was the head sheik that Omar
Oh,
Sharif got together with.
okay. Yeah. I have
Yeah.
no idea who that is.
Yeah. I think it's me and names, but Abad. He was like
Uh,
Abad. Yeah.
right.
And yeah. And so I know all kinds of them. I know all numbers of Muslim. And the only ones that basically, you become us or die is that Islamics. Get rid of them and there'd be a whole lot more peace over there.
Right. Well, even I'll use Hakeem Olajuwon, who played for the Houston Rockets here, who came from Nigeria, devout Muslim. I
Yeah.
mean, he
Yeah.
the whole prayer thing. He don't have a problem with Christians. He doesn't have a problem with Americans. So, it's just the radicalized ones that, don't.
They when they got a hold of the Quran and all that, and he was and that guy was just trying to get him to be more holy, etc. But they got a hold of that and said, okay, we're going to be the ones who will rule the world. And it went to their head, and then they indoctrinate others, and they basically they went crazy, and they've been lunatics ever since, and they breed more lunatics. It's like a cult. They indoctrinate them, hunger them and get them sleep deprivation and everything, and get them to where they're afraid to be anything else.
Well, it doesn't help when Israel's bombing everybody. United States wants to go stick their nose in Israel's business in the Middle East with Iran, and I see why. And people, I don't want to.
Of course, they were bombing Israel before that.
Yeah. Let's get back on Pandora's box.
Their stuff back and forth.
Yeah, let's get back on Pandora's box.
Matter of fact, that's why the one comment that Trump made that I had to chuckle at, that I actually enjoyed, was all of them over there have been doing what they're doing so long, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And he said it right on TV. He said it, man. He just right out there, boom, And they're so ingrained in it, they're obsessed by it. But that's why I told him, nail Iran, nail their nukes setups, don't let any extra damage happen. Just be a precision strike. Boom, this is destroyed, this is destroyed. They don't see us coming. They can't see us leaving. And I said, they're all, be a martyr and you get your 70 virgins and all that stuff. And I said, the government people want people to believe that, but they don't want to go see those 70 virgins. They don't want to die. And I told them, I said, hit them that way. And then when you talk to them, just tell them we're more than ready and willing to help all of you guys go see your 70 virgins. We'll take the whole legislature at one time, and then your country can vote for all new people. And if we need to, they can go too. And Iran is decided they're not ready to be a martyr yet.
Well, that's a whole nother topic. Let's go back to Pandora's box.
Okay. Well, we got a little bit of Pandora's box in the Pandora's box.
So you went in this room, right?
Yep.
Where was this room at?
It was in Herzogenaurach, Germany, a place called Herzl-Base.
Okay. And what is that?
And that is about 12 kilometers from Erlangen, Germany. Mm-hmm. And it's about 26 to 36, something like that, kilometers from Fürth and Nuremberg.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. It's far enough away from Nuremberg that it looks like a little village that basically bombers would pass right over and not think anything about. But all of our main radio stuff, intercept and everything was there. Everything was that was central.
Okay. Well, so you go in this room. What does it look like in the room? Is it a bunch of file cabinets or just files?
No, what it was actually is there were boxes of stuff labeled. It was like years were in a box.
Okay. Like the old bankers boxes.
Yeah, 1911. There were 2 or 3 boxes of 1911, and in the 1911 box, were some of the Bilderberg meetings, notes from the meetings and everything.
Who compiled these files? Do you know?
Bilderberg and those guys were compiling them the whole time. They were saving them. So when they got empowered by the 1947 National Security Act, they made that their storage room for their history and everything. Their
Who's
actual 200-year plan was in that room.
You're talking about the deep state? Is that they?
Deep state. Where they came from, the Bilderbergs, the Monroes, all the dirt on Monroes, on Bilderbergs, on Campbell's, all the dirt on the big bankers, on Ford, on Chrysler.
Define deep state. Define deep state for everybody. What that is.
Deep state was actually developed. It's a government within the government, basically a government in the shadows, secretly running everything. And it was put together when Ford, Chrysler, Campbell, I can think of Bilderberg, Monroe's, Rockefellers, all of the wealthy and powerful and all of the genius people of the world decided to get together. It started off with a good, let's get together and figure out how to make the world better. And then as it progressed and they realized what they had, the power and everything else, then absolute power corrupts absolutely. And they saw how easy it was to get absolute power. And when they got to that point, they got Truman to sign the 1947 National Security Act. They used 4 military people who were very respected by Truman and said, hey, these guys are going to be helping us run it. Man, here, we'll put these guys in seat 1 through 4. Your military will be in seat 1 through 4. And all of us geniuses and finance people are going to be following them, and they're going to be following you. And then as that was empowered, then they start turning it upside down.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let me back you up a little bit because most people don't know that. I would say the majority of people in the United States don't know this, how important 1911 was in the world economy, because that was when they decided a lot of different things. And as Noel has just spoken of, this is when J.P. Morgan Chase, Henry Ford, Chrysler Brothers were probably around, but they weren't the big heavy hitters as of yet. Yep. Dodge Boys, same thing with them. But Henry Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Mellons, Vanderbilts, DuPonts, and all these are old historical families that were billionaires back in the early 1880s, early 1900s. And today that would be your super billionaires like Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, Zuckerberg, the Walton.
Even Barnum and Bailey were involved in it. That's how they got into making some of their displays, and they actually started training some of the athletes who had to have super athlete abilities, like to get into some of the buildings and everything, being able to like jump and do a flip from one building or whatever and land on a ledge or whatever,
Okay.
And then roll through the window and into a room or something.
That's called parkour. There's actually a name for it, and people do that. I was watching this guy the other day doing a flip from one building to the next building. I was like, oh man, that's just so insane.
Yeah, I learned a little bit. I learned a little bit of how to do that, and that saved me in Vietnam because I dove off of a cliff. And I had to be at least more than 300 feet. I was probably 500, 600 feet above this tree. And there was an evergreen tree. And I could just tell it had the right limberness. I dove off of that cliff to that tree, grabbed the tip of the tree I hit it just right, grabbed the tip of the tree, and my momentum and weight carried me down to where I was about 2 feet off the ground when it started to pick me up again. As soon as the momentum started to move up, I let go and I landed real easy on the ground, dove under a bush, and the Viet Cong come over to the edge of the cliff, and they're like, no way is he down there. You know, where's the body? I don't see a body. He must have went that way, or he must have went that way.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I had those abilities for a while.
That's
My
nuts.
back pays for it now, though.
Right. Yeah, I hear that. Let me get back to 1911 because that's extremely important. People don't realize that when these powerful entities got together and they were over all these different industries, these categories, you know, pharmaceuticals, big pharma, your big railroad, oil and gas, banking, you know, politics, it goes on and
Yep.
on. This was a cabal of people that had power, had authority, could, you know, change the complete curriculum of schools all across America, change the narrative on pharmacology.
That's right. Train each generation for what you want to develop for the next phase.
Exactly. So, and AI is taking us there. But if you want to hear more on that, hit me up August 10th at Sky Pony Gallery. All about AI and what's coming. But
yep. And that's why they had their 200-year plan, because then they'd break it into phases.
Yeah.
And then they start educating for that phase, building those people for that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we come. So 1911, if you do your historical research, you're going to find that that's when they started to develop the mortgage, the 15 and 30-year mortgage. That's when they came out with the life insurance policies. That's when they came out with an expected lifespan. They said, oh, okay, well, you know, women are going to live to 48, men are going to live to 45. And then, of course, you know, that kept growing as we became more industrialized, more non-rural. And that's when they started developing all these things. And of course, they conned their way into creating the Federal Reserve Bank, and they took over the United States financial economy, basically the financial arm of the United States government, to the point where, you know, we're borrowing from a cabal of, you know, I'm sure they're all trillionaires by now, but that's all, you know, off the ledger money. Yep. So did you dig into any of those files between 1911, 12, 13, maybe even into 14 that covered something about the Federal Reserve, the secret meetings over on Jekyll Island, Georgia, with what was his name? Senator Alder, I think.
Alder, yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the others there. So did you see anything on that?
They were having meetings, there, and then up into the 40s. They started having meetings in Coney Island too, and doing stuff there. You know, surrounded by all the fun going on, to keep people distracted. Nobody noticed them going in and out of their buildings. And yeah, as a matter of fact, that's why they came up with the metals deal, where everybody had to turn in their gold. Nobody could have gold, could not have or keep gold. You had to give them the copper. You had to give them all the iron, all the metals. They needed it for the war effort. Yep. And then they got into, basically, they secret away the gold, and they could exaggerate how much was there. For a long time, there wasn't that much gold there compared to what the gold was supposed to be supporting. You know, then they get some new gold strikes, so they bring in some new gold. And actually, when I was in, the gold reserve was about 50% low. And Doc Noss was at White Sands, New Mexico, going after a treasure.
Who?
Doc Noss.
Who's that?
He was at White Sands, New Mexico. Look up DOC, Doc, N-O-S, and the White Sands, New Mexico treasure. He knew that there was a treasure. See, he picked up on the Egyptians and those guys were coming over to America, stashing their gold rather than putting it in the pyramids after a couple of times that they had a war and the conquering army went into the pyramids to get the gold. So actually they put a little bit of token stuff there. But the real wealth of that was brought to America, and there are 7 stashes in America. Each stash has 7 stashes. And the 7 stashes in a big stash are in the point of they make an arrow. You've got the shaft of the arrow. So you would have, like, say, let me get to my fingers right. You'd have 2 here. Let's say like here, 2 here and 2 over here. That's the base of the arrow. Then you'd have 1 outside each side of the arrow. And then the biggest one, the biggest and most valuable one, which you'd have to go by what they valued at the time, would be the point of the arrow. Then you take your center point of that. Whoops, I hit the thing. I hit it. Uh-oh. Boom. I knocked myself off. I touched it.
Oh, your camera. Go to the
How do I
bottom.
initiate?
Just go back and click on the camera.
Oh,
The bottom.
is that the duck on the bottom?
Bottom, yeah. Should look like you should have seen your microphone and a camera.
Oh, it's
Bottom.
not showing.
Okay, I don't know why.
Oh, it said put user in timeout.
Oh, no.
Huh. I touched the wrong spot. Timed myself out.
I've never heard of that before, but all right.
Well, we still got voice. So at any rate, if you take right straight up through the center of the arrow and the point, that will point you to another stash. So Doc Noss was over there for 20 years looking through caves and stuff like that. And see, the Egyptians were excellent about making the wall of a cave look like a solid wall when there's a room behind it. And they make it look like solid wall.
Right.
So then when they finally got, I think I mentioned to Doc Noss one time. I think I met him one time when I was over there in New Mexico, and I mentioned that I had a metal detector that will also find cavities. And he said, cavities? I said, yeah. And I told him, I said, the Egyptians, man, they had cavities you couldn't find, but this thing will find, like, if you've got a 4x4 hole, it'll find it, and even if it's 28 feet behind solid rock. And he said, I got to get one of those. So lo and behold, I heard a little bit later, he found some hidden cavities. He found some places there were bars of gold stacked.
Did I lose you? I think we lost Noel there totally. We lost you, Noel. Well, I'm back, and it looks like we have some technical difficulties going on with Noel. So let me give him a call, see if we can continue the video, if we have to do a part 2 of Pandora's box. Stay tuned.
Wow. Man, I can't get back in. It says everyone can see and hear.
All right. And I found Noel. And if you look right there, I don't know, east or west of me, you'll see the advertisements for Noel and myself speaking at the Sky Pony Gallery in Plano, Texas at the Willow Bend Mall, August 9th and 10th. Noel will be speaking from 3 to 5. He possibly could go longer. You know how he likes to talk. And allegedly, from 5 to 7, we'll have a book signing, meet and greet, etc., etc. Noel will be there both days, I imagine. But I will be speaking the next day at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And then from 3 to 5, I'll do a book signing, meet and greet. If you want to purchase the 200-year plan, this book, and have it autographed by Noel, that will be available. We'll have I have a bunch of them. Hopefully they'll arrive on time. And then, of course, these two bad babies that you see over here, the On Trust book and specialty trust books. I'll be doing special pricing for the live event, autograph them for you, and they will be available at the Sky Pony Gallery thereafter. So if you miss us on the 9th and 10th at the Sky Pony Gallery and you live in the DFW area, the books will be available there, so you can go get one from Doug and Kiki Winters at any time. And I want to give them a big shout out for letting me to do this at their facility. And while I'm there, let me get I lost Noel again. Yeah, he's having issues. They like to play with people. So until he gets back, let me go over to Sky Pony's website so you guys can look at it. It's weird. There we go. I don't know what happened there. And Noel's still buffering. He's chasing his tail. All right. Here we go. This is Noel. He will, like I said, 3 to 7 p.m. Saturday, August 9th, Sky Pony Gallery, 6121 West Park Boulevard, Plano, Texas. More information, skyponygallery.com and at my website, ferrisfloydshow.com. And while we await Noel to unbuffer, let's take a tour of the Sky Pony Gallery. So here you go. This is the Sky Pony Gallery. It's a 9,000 square foot fine art gallery that is owned and operated by artists Kiki Curry Winters and Doug E. Winters III. We're proud to represent both local and national emerging mid-career and established artists with a wide variety of artistic expression. Let me remove my mug so you guys can get a better look at it. And if you want to get updates right there about us, make sure that everything changed over. That's Kiki right there. And this, I don't know what this was. It looks like it might have been like a display or something else, but an artist put all these beads, buttons, rhinestones, you name it, all over this horse, and it is in there. And of course, there's Doug, her husband, and this is some of I believe that's Kiki's artwork right there, and I'm sure Doug's is in here, but it's his shops at Willow Bend in Plano, Texas. And here, they have original fine art, Gickley reproductions, fine art jewelry, fiber, glass, sculpture, arts and crafts. They have books, incense, esoteric stuff. Here are the gallery artists. Here's Kiki's stuff. This is Doug, her husband. Hunter Connor, Matthew Clover, and Cesar Marin, sculptor, Susan Stroller, Chris Henderson, I met him, Audrey Legatowitz, hope I pronounced that correctly, Greg Luttrell, leather. I see they even have leather there, so I can get you some leather crafts. Blondie Designs Jewelry, Katie McCain, Fused Glass, Glenda's Designs, I guess that's jewelry. Here's some artwork, Refinished Sculpture, Glenda and Eric Lundgren, Baltimore Salazar Sculptures. There you go. Maybe we can get some of Ann's copper stuff in there, but here's the contact information. Here we go. Here's some more artwork that you can see. This is a really cool, neat place. Here's those sculptures. So if you need the map, phone number, email, 3 hours, you want to contact Doug or Kiki, hit them up. Events. Let's see if they got us up yet. The Vibe Market. That's their Mad Tinfoil Hatters. And she doesn't yet, so I'm going to have to get on her. Yeah, these are old events that they have had. And they just had, they're going to have it this weekend, I believe. Scott McKay's Tactical Civics. Wellness, Life Wave. And online store. Our prints, blankets, pillows. Oh, that's cool. Mugs. Accessories. Women's clothing. That's Doug's. Bathroom. Seasonal. That's Doug's. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they did that. And back to home. Sky Pony Gallery. That's where we'll be. Noel Benoist and myself. August 9th and 10th. Saturday and Sunday. Come check us out. Get a book. Come hear us. We got Noel back.
I made it backstage again finally.
Yeah. All we see is a little circle, little dot chasing the tail. All right. Well, we're back. Pandora's box. Let's stay on topic.
There we go. And so anyway, the Doc Noss deal, they actually took out about, and it might have been a little over, I don't think it was under 100 deuce-and-a-half trucks loaded to the point that the springs were ready to break of gold. Gold alligators, 6 foot, 8 foot solid gold alligators. Yeah. Gold tortoises, great big, like a desert tortoise, big, solid gold. And gold frogs and quill money. The Egyptians had quill money. They would take a goose feather and they would snip the end off and they would put gold dust inside. And when it was full, they would put a little wax cap on it, or their whatever they would, use to close it off with, like a plastic or wax type stuff. Usually I think it was black wax. And then that was worth a certain amount of money, quill money. And I wanted the artifacts and everything to be preserved. And they said, no, we need, black ops money. So they melted it down, and a half full, half empty Fort Knox was full again with gold off to the side. But Doc Noss actually pulled out some gold bars before that all happened. And he stashed somewhere between 10 and or 20 and 30 or 40 or whatever of them. So he was smart enough to do that. And so he was able to prove that he had it. But now they've shown how big these rooms and caverns are where that treasure was. And when he found it, it was stacked with gold bars and stuff like that all the way to the top. There was literally trillions of dollars in gold in that treasure. And they revoked his permit, took it away, and denied that it was there after it was all over. But he got some gold that he was able to get out and stash. But the whole family, and he showed the family gold bars and stuff. And so there was a big legal deal over that for a long time. And that's one that really got me. That, you know, because the guy worked his whole life. And I knew that the Egyptians had been here. That's how I ended up. As you know, I've got an Egyptian scarab that is the royal orange stone. And there's markings on the bottom of it, petroglyphs, hieroglyphs. And I believe that the markings on it basically show the time of Moses and Ramses. But I got to get somebody I can trust to translate it. And then once they translate it, I could tell them where I found it, and we might find some more.
AI can do that for you now.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it to AI because it would give me one reading, and Elon Musk could get the truth.
That's what they're doing with all these ancient scrolls.
Getting it to read them.
Yeah, because it's
I just
they're looking for patterns, putting the patterns together, and it can do gazillion computations per second.
AI.
Well, it can just do it. What'll take us 20,000 lifetimes, they can do it like that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that's what they're doing.
Well, if you find a computer that is self-contained that does AI, that would have that language, the petroglyphs and hieroglyphs in it, I'll try that one.
Oh yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
You're not going to.
But I don't want Musk getting a hold of the information I got. He'd go steal it and I'd get nothing.
And this is part of what I'm going to talk about Saturday on the 10th is your digital DNA, your digital twin, and how you cannot not escape it because it is so intertwined into your bio life. Okay. The biology of your life.
You're breaking. Yeah.
The biology of your life. You're just getting a bad connection.
Yep.
That's why.
Think so?
Right. But here's the issue. Okay. Every app that you're signed into, and it doesn't matter whether it's your Google app, it's your Facebook app, Amazon app, whatever is just the most commonly used app, Twitter, TikTok, and I use these, because people use them all the time, especially, Siri with Apple, those proprietary devices. All of those apps are always talking to everybody else's apps. So if I have a Facebook app on my phone right here, and I have a Facebook app on this laptop that I'm recording on, and I have Facebook on this laptop, I have Facebook on my TV, all of those devices are always constantly talking to each other and circulating information. But because this device and my laptop, these two are my main workhorses where, I'm all over the map. Though these are pretty, my television and this other laptop are basically static with the same stuff over and over and over. I really don't get outside my normal rhythm of life with those two. But these, especially this one, because I carry this one around everywhere I travel, this is going with me, and it's talking to everything else around me. It doesn't matter where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's the cell towers, it's talking to other Bluetooth devices, other Wi-Fi devices, other apps, anything that it already has an open channel to on the back door that, we're not privy to those. And that's what's going on. And people don't understand this, that AI is already here. It's in all your devices. Microsoft.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah. Everything
from
Commodore 64 on, computers have been talking to themselves and tried to educate themselves.
Well,
we found that out.
Microsoft, if you have a Microsoft product, there's AI embedded in it.
Yeah.
Every product they have has AI embedded in it. Every product.
Yeah. That's why I'd have to get a closed circuit one, and then after it told me what I needed to know, destroy it.
You can't. It makes copies of itself. It's already that self-aware. And we'll get into all that when I talk about this on the
channel. Well, when they're on the web.
You don't even have to be on the web. It's already on the web. Everything's always recording, listening. It's sad state of affairs we've allowed ourselves to get accumulated in. But back to Pandora's box in Germany. So let's try to stay over there in Germany. So you go into this room and you see these, banker boxes, and I'm sure they're, got dust all over them, and they're labeled with probably dates from, fiscal year 1911, fiscal year 1912, 13, and there might be one box here, 6 boxes there, 2 boxes here, 9 boxes there, right?
Yeah, they're all.
So what was the first year box, file, folder that you went to? It was like, oh my God, where I'm at, what is all this? Oh, now I know where I'm at. Now I want to go find something.
I had the guy told me that that guy that told me that the 1911 was in there. I had to go to the 1911 first.
Okay.
See if it really was. And 1911 was in there, and 1911 is that's where I first saw the name Bilderberg, and some of those families, some of the German families.
Oh boy, I'm sure you ran into the Warburgs too as well.
Yeah, so I think because if I remember rightly, Bilderbergs went way back in Germany. They're like one of the older families or whatever. And the 1911, I think the Bilderberg Mansion was built by then. Because I remember seeing that at some point in time. Great big sprawling Bilderberg Mansion. And pardon?
The Bilderberg hotels where they meet.
Yeah, well, they had a Bilderberg Mansion too. That was their private residence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Yep.
Just
like the Chrysler had a mansion, 387 guest rooms in the Chrysler Mansion, not far from Warrenton, Virginia. It's going out towards Fauquier Springs. Look up Fauquier Springs Country Club, and the Chrysler Mansion was going out toward Fauquier Springs Country Club.
Okay, we'll do a whole nother show on that. Right now, we're trying to stay in this room in Germany.
His own fire department. Well, a lot of this stuff and info was in. They had info on all these people in Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. They had everything on Chrysler, everything on Ford, everything on all of them. There was a box and mega files in there on all of them, including some of the bad stuff, because then Hoover became basically like the sergeant of arms. When he got the head of the FBI, he was put in the head of the FBI mainly to be kind of like their get the dirt on them and have the hold over them, have the information to hold them on, so they couldn't cross them because they had this stuff to sink them.
So what were the dates? Obviously, 1911 to what date?
The biggest event dates were actually 1911 and 1929. Those were two real huge, like curve and the direction point. And then 1947, when with Roswell. Those three dates did more to influence the future, change the past, than any other dates.
But what was the latest date in there? Like, 19, when were
Well,
you
the
there?
latest date in there, was at the time I was going in was 19. Well, they had all of our 1966, 67, 68, 69 stuff was in there. 1970 stuff went in there. And then in 1971, Congressman Biz Johnson and I were successfully basically split things apart. And then they had to take things elsewhere to store it because the base, as an intelligence base, was dissolved in 71 or 72. Then that's when they turned it into a regular Army base, Herzl base. So that was basically, then they had to either come up with a new Pandora's box or they had to take files to different places.
And what happened to those files? Do you know?
They've got all those files somewhere. And I think what they did, from what I heard, the plan was they were going to basically divide the files into like 25% one place and 25% another place, 25% another, and 25% another. So
Compartmentalization. Boy,
yep, that's when they started, and that's when they started compartmentalization. When I blew the whistle on them, and all that stuff hit the fan, and Biz Johnson and I got after them, then they started compartmentalization. Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What else can you add?
In fact, they even made a statement: "Don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing."
So, what else can you tell us unique about Pandora's box, or anything else that you would want the public to know that might pique their interest?
Number one is the deep state has been providing little girls and little boys. And actually, when they're finished with little girls and little boys, if they get finished with them, or if they need them for something, if they got a rare body part or something, they were enjoyment, and they would disappear if they had a body part that was worth a lot.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But I read the stuff on it, and they even used that and kids like that to see.
This is going on YouTube, so kind of be careful how you address that.
Yeah, they would use that to try and see if they could live longer, like exchanging, getting younger body parts. Would certain younger body parts help you live longer?
Right. Yeah.
Because all of them wanted to live longer. Would genes from that help you live longer?
Yeah, the youth juice.
Yeah.
They know what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah. So they were looking for the fountain of youth any way they could find it. Yeah. And they wouldn't hesitate to frame somebody. I mean, one of the things they did that really just burned my bippy. I don't know if we mentioned it on one deal or not, but
did you say burn your bippy?
Pardon?
Did you just say burn your bippy?
Yeah. They burn their bippy.
Oh, no. That just
that's an old phrase.
So far over the head of my audience, but
yeah,
Rowan and Martin's laughing. That's exactly what
yeah.
You bet your bippy.
Yep, burn your bippy. And yeah, that's a
no.
Yeah, those guys were pretty good. yeah. But there was that's the room I got into, and I read what they did to a guy in New York, and I don't remember what year they did it. I think it was fairly close to the years I was in. It seems to me like it was somewhere between 55 and 66, there was a guy in New York, and PCP was already in play. And they started using it. Well, it was the elephant tranquilizer, and then they tried to use it on pregnancies, except they had women jumping out the window thinking they were a bird. And that's when they found the hallucinogenic side of it and the suggestive side that they could do. And there was a guy in New York that had heard about him and was making waves about him, and that it was wrong. And he heard about them, I think, being connected like with McCarthyism and all of that, and felt the whole thing was wrong and was making waves. So they went in, and they dusted his place with PCP. And when they knew he'd be high, they go in with like scuba gear. So number one, they're not breathing any PCP. And with scuba gear, they're not touching any PCP. And so they make him think that they're all underwater. They're scuba diving. And then when they get ready to leave, they give him a shot to countermand the PCP, but they've got his daughters, and they basically already drowned the daughters, and they convince him, your daughters are going for a world record in holding their breath. Don't worry about it. They will reach up and tap your hand when they can't hold their breath anymore. So he's out of it with PCP. Now the countermanding drug has taken place, so they leave, and nobody sees them. They make sure of that. They got a scout sitting out watching for anybody that could possibly see him by the door and everything. And so then when he comes to, he sees his two daughters in the bath. His hand is on them. He brings them up and tries to shake the water out of them and stuff. Then he calls the police and says, my two daughters are in the bathtub. I think they drowned. And then the police have a discrepancy between the time of the call and the time of death. So there's like a couple of hours or whatever it was, an hour or two, where, why did you wait an hour? Why did you wait 2 hours? Whatever it was. And he says, I didn't wait. I called you right away. So they've got all of these holes in his testimony, and they ended up convicting that father of murdering his two daughters. And I went on that one, questioned that one. And I just told him there's got to be a better way. And when they wouldn't turn, it just started all coming together. And so reading some of that stuff and some of the stuff they were doing, and I read in there how that they have agents in every country who will get people who are influential in that country fired up against other countries. They have been the main force behind Islam and their radical stuff. We're going to rule the world. They've been the main force behind Hamas and behind the anti-Jewish sentiment. And they feed all sides to stir up war. And they literally said, we've got to test our instruments of warfare. So those skirmishes give us a place to test it and make sure it's going to be good when we need it. So I said, you guys are killing thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I mean, and they even sponsored Hitler with his stuff and got him going on his thing. That was part of the 1911 deal, getting Germany going, and then noticing Hitler after World War I, and then feeding him to get him into a World War II, and sponsoring him and everything else. And when he wrote Mein Kampf, they made sure it got out. And so I told him, I says, really, all the Jews that were killed, it's their fault, because they did the anti-Jew thing and all of that. MJ-12 is responsible for more American deaths than Hitler killed. MJ-12 is responsible for millions and millions of American deaths, as well as millions of Jews and millions of Palestinians and millions of every race, Italian, French, etc. Kennedy's plan would have had every single nation at peace working together as partners to explore space. And if we had any enemies, they would have been out there. And there are some out there. They talk about the lizard people and the snake people and stuff like that. And some of those types are not good creatures. But people have got to realize, even Christians, the Bible tells Christians that we will rule and reign as kings and priests with Christ. Well, and the Bible says that the seed of Abraham will be like the stars of the sky. Put all those on earth, they're all kings and priests. So every citizen of earth is a king or a priest. Who are you going to rule over? You're talking to another king. You're talking to another priest. There's got to be other worlds and other creations out there for us to rule and reign over. Otherwise, that part of the Bible wouldn't make any sense at all. So there's stuff out there, and that's for sure. But now, and I'm the one that pushed on disclosing it. I told him, I said, you're dividing America against America. Say that there's stuff out there. We've got these ancient writings and we've got pictures and stuff like that. Say there's stuff out there, but we don't have any. If you see something, let us know. We'll give you a reward. And then enlist that person that saw something. Well, I thought it was something, but it was a weather balloon. But don't say that the stuff doesn't exist, because right there, too many people have seen, and too many people know people they can trust who have seen, and they started undermining trust in American government right there in 1947. That's where they started going downhill, deep into the pit, lying to the people rather than people calm and peaceful, and then, let people adjust to it little by little.
Right.
So I'm the one that told Trump don't let him lie to him either, and that's why he went ahead and commissioned Space Force. So he knew, he saw, so Trump knows they're out there.
Right. Yeah. Yep. All right. Anything else on Pandora's box?
Other than that, it definitely, I mean, it put me in the line of doing what I've been doing ever since. And unfortunately, we're at the point where people have got to trust what they see. We can't trust anything on the web anymore because AI can fake every bit of it. So we're at the point now where we've got to trust face to face.
Yep, absolutely.
We don't even know if those guys would capture all this and make something different out of it.
Yep. All right. Awesome. That covers Pandora's box. I don't know what the next topic is, but we'll get into it. So thank you, Noel, for being on here, and we'll move on to the next chapter.
Amen.
Thank
you for doing it. I look forward to being in Plano and seeing a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, that's going to be pretty awesome. Hang on.
Oh, by the way, I will have at least 4 of the brown books, of which I only printed 500 printed copies of that book. All the rest of them were ebooks, and we'll have one to give the people who are doing it for us.
Okay.
But we'll be able to raffle 1 or 2. A couple, you might know people that deserve a reward or something. Let me know, because I basically took the first 40 and put them aside. So these are the first 40 books printed.
Okay. Well, I ordered 50 of these, so we're gonna have 50 of these there as well. So we should have plenty of books for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, I'm only going to have maybe like 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever of the brown ones, because then we'll have some more at the next signing, and we'll give those out, or we'll have a raffle at different times.
Yeah,
We'll
you
raffle
cannot
those.
find those brown ones anywhere. If you can find them, they're expensive.
That's right. That's right.
Expensive.
And one black one sold on Amazon for $5,000.
Yeah, there you go, folks. So yeah, come see us. All right, Noel. Thank you, sir. And this is the event we're talking about right here. This is Noel. He'll be here August 9th. That is Saturday. A week from this coming Saturday. He'll begin his presentation at 3 p.m. He'll speak hopefully 2 hours till about 5, but he could go further. And then, of course, we will linger into the evening with a meet greet book signing. Then we'll follow up on Sunday, August 10th from 1 to 5. That will be me talking about your digital DNA, artificial intelligence, where we are today and what your future could possibly look like very, very soon, a lot sooner than you think. And all this takes place at the Sky Pony Gallery at the, the parks at Willowbend Mall. And that's 6121 West Park Boulevard, Plano, Texas. SkyPonyGallery.com is their website. I'm going to have to get with Kiki today, get that posted up there on the website. But you can go find it as well at thefearlessfloydshow.com. Again, if you need a trust book, trust class, trust built for you, fearlessfloydshow.com/store. Noel's books available, and LaFleur's books, classes, everything's available over there in the store. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We have the outro coming up, and stay tuned. And there you have it, folks. Noel Benoist. Again, we'll be at the Sky Pony Gallery in Plano, Texas, August 9th and August 10th. Come check us out. Hear what we have to say. Get a book signing, meet and greet, pictures, whatever you want. So thank you for watching. Appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next show. Thank you for hanging around after the show. I want to present to you Tailor-Made Trust, featuring Ann LaFleur's Trust Series, available at tailormadetrust.com, as well as thefearlessfloydshow.com store. Here are a handful of the available trusts that can be built, custom tailored to your needs and desires. 25 different trusts, plus the DNA Trust Addendum. And as always, Ann LaFleur's classic trusts and ancillary classes, and also Ann's books on trust and specialty trust, which I also co-authored. If you'd like to get a class, a book, or have a trust custom built for you, always available at thefearlessfloydshow.com store. And I'll see you in the next show. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.